Space! It's really big and everything. It's so big that if you making a sandwich and you lost the mustard, you'd more than likely never see it again. And that's why space is the place. So what happens when your life is lived among the stars, where you are always losing the mustard, and where Star Wars even happened, where a large majority of Cowboy Bebop happened, and where Halo 5 happened? Well, the answer lies within a fantastic story called Planets, where it discusses the loneliness of space and living in an endless place. It's pretty good. I swear it is.
Now, for me to fully explain Planets is rather complicated, because it is about 4 people living their life in the midst of outer space. But it's a lot more than that. Planets is a set of short stories that all add up to one big plot. The stories are long, but until you get further on down the road, you don't really realize what exactly it's about. The story itself is about somebody being lonely, and the fact of dealing with loneliness. It deals with how somebody needs people, how they need social interaction, and having to deal with this form of loneliness. So the crew of the DS-12, otherwise labeled as the Toy Box, live in outer space as space janitors. Their entire job exists for them to gather debris from broken satellites, broken spaceships, so that way it doesn't fly around orbit and smack into other spaceships. Now, it may not sound like a big deal to be collecting trash in space, right? It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Well, that's where you'd be wrong, because the stuff that flies around ends up pretty much flying at around 8 kilometers per second, and if it's smacked into a spaceship or a satellite, that would be very bad, and it goes deadly fast, so if it crashed into something, that would be pretty bad for whoever had to deal with that. So the crew's job is to collect all of the debris that they possibly can, and that's the basis of the story. Well, for the most part. The overall story is about a young man named Hachimaki who works alongside his 2 co-workers, Fi and Yuri, as they collect trash in the middle of space. All he wants in life is to be able to have enough money to get his own spaceship, and that costs a lot of money. Overall, the stories, we see that a large part of the way that the government and the economy works is based off of the people in space and on the moon. People are born in space, a lot of scientific discoveries are found out in space, and it's just able to help people overall. Now, I'm not going to go into depth of each story because that would be ruining the purpose of you reading this fantastic epic, and so I'm not going to tell you exactly what they're all about. I'm just going to give you the main little bit of details that you need to pique your interest. All of these short stories just add up to a huge, greater story in the bigger scheme of things, and it's just something that you need to experience on your own. Without a doubt, this is probably one of the best sci-fi stories that I've ever read. The first volume blew my mind, and then the second volume had just as much or the same effect as the first one did. It's pretty insane, honestly. And I would just say that it effectively turns something that doesn't seem that big into something gigantic, and it makes you really love this series. Now, the story wouldn't be that good if the characters weren't as good just as much. And all of the characters are very entertaining, and they have a great sense of development, and I absolutely love all the characters. So the first character is Hachimaki, and funny story is that in the first chapter, you don't really realize that Hachimaki is the main character until about second chapter. You don't really realize it. And maybe it was just me not being able to catch up on it, but I didn't notice it until I was just getting into the second chapter. So that's pretty rough. Anyways, Hachi's just a character that's just trying to get the job done. His main goal in the entire big scheme of things is, like I said earlier, he wants to get his own spaceship. And so his life becomes more and more involved with space. Right now he's just a space janitor, and so what he realizes that more and more as he gets more adapted to this environment that he is in, he soon comes to realize what it means to actually be an astronaut. Now, Hachi has a hard time adjusting to how astronauts think, as they believe that astronauts are supposed to be alone. They're supposed to die alone. And that's the biggest struggle for Hachimaki throughout the entire series, dealing with his astronaut self versus his morality. His struggle is one of the best parts of this entire series, and it makes him a very relatable character, as something so small can make a huge impact on somebody. The next character is Yuri, a Russian man who struggles to what the past has done to him. Yuri's calm demeanor and his entire attitude in total is based on what happened to him, and so all of his career and life choices were based on that event. After Yuri handles his issues, he becomes a different character altogether. I really liked Yuri. He didn't really have any moments that shined out from any other moment, and he didn't really stand out from any other character that I've seen before, but he's just a relatable character having to deal with something that normally people have to deal with, stuff that happens in their past, and that makes him a very relatable character, so I enjoyed him. The third character is Fee, who is just trying to figure out how to stick it to the man. All she wants is a smoke break. Legit, Fee is just a woman that has to deal with stress piling on more and more, and she is really cool while doing it. No joke, she legitimately stops a natural disaster from happening and is seen as a hero. That's pretty cool. So basically, Fee is just very short fused and she just wants to get crap done. It's simple as that. So finally, we're going to talk about Tanabe, which, by the way, is an excellent example of how you can make two characters come together without having to make it awkward and ruin it altogether. Tanabe is a loving, happy girl who just has a sense of morality and actually cares in this group. She's the person that pushes Hachi from being what he thought. He put himself into a rut and she's pulling him out of what he put himself into. Her caring attitude goes against Hachimaki's overall attitude, and it's a counteractive kind of thing. And so what happens is that it makes this story a lot interesting because these two characters finally are able to make their different mindsets, and it's able to come into something really good. I really liked all these characters. I really did. Man, Makoto Yukimura is like... he's so cool. The art is spectacular. It is super amazing, and it's done super well. I'm not lying when I say that half of the photos in my library on my phone have been taken of this series, and they like have facial recognition for the stuff right here. If I get close enough with this, I'm not gonna lie, it could probably read what this is. It could probably indicate that it's a face. And that's super freaking cool. I love this. So yeah, Makoto Yukimura was touched by the hands of God himself to make this. Good job. Planets is overall just an amazing journey to go on and an amazing read for anyone who loves manga. Story, characters, deep meanings, and overall just the atmosphere, it is a perfect blend that makes you really understand just this genre, and it makes you really happy. Really feel like that it's out of this world because of the sense of vastness that you get from reading this, and I really like that. Mura really knows how to blow people away with just the storytelling and just the art overall. It really is a perfect mesh, and it honestly defies the entire sci-fi genre, and for me personally, I think that this is super good, and it's one of my all-time favorites. So with that in mind, I'm going to give Planets a 10 out of 10. Because it's that good. it's without a doubt the best sci-fi that I have ever read. If you're planning to pick this up at all, then I suggest that you get both volumes. There's only 2. In America, they are published by Dark Horse, and they're a little bit pricey. They're about 20 bucks each. I got these for cheaper, though. I got these for like 10 bucks each on a sale, so maybe you can get lucky with them. But there's only 2 volumes, so you don't really have to worry about much if you're planning on picking them up. But I do suggest you go get them as soon as you possibly can, but just be warned. But if you don't live in the United States, you can always pick them up in the single volumes. I'm pretty sure there's like maybe 4 or 5 single volumes, and that's just fine. So you can do that. Listen now, you have a differing opinion? Well, go follow me on Twitter, and you can tweet at me, and you can get mad all you want. That's okay. That's fine. You can get mad. That's okay. But go follow me on Twitter. Maybe subscribe. Maybe comment. Hey, also the comments are open for you to get mad too, so you can do that. And if you want to see more reviews of me and get real mad at me more, you know, hit that subscribe thing. You can watch my videos just to get mad at me. So there you go. You can do that.